All right, so that was a nice, really short video. This one, it will be longer because we're doing the CSS, and there's a lot more that's going to have to go into this than we had in our last one. Because we want it to look good, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and do a portfolio modal. So we're going to take the whole modal itself, and let's give it a position of fixed. So I'm going to just save that, and we're going to see at least now this looks back to normal, right? So I have all of that. Now it's around somewhere, it's probably behind everything else. Let's just give this as an index of 10, because I'm guessing it's behind everything. When I want it to be on top, I don't even know where it is, but that's okay. I want it to be, let's give it a top of 0, bottom 0, left of 0, and a right of 0. There we go, now we can actually see it. It probably didn't have a width or something weird like that. So now it's overlapping everything. I have a bit of a problem in that I can see through the back. So let's give it a background of white. There we go. And now, even when I'm scrolling, we're seeing just this. Now, one thing I didn't think of before when I was designing it on here, I was designing it to be full screen, but I think since it's a modal and it's popping up over the other content, I think that it would work better if we did it more like this. 2M and 2M. There we go. So we can actually see that we're on top of the other content. Now, it's still not perfect by any means, but I want this where I can see that I want to keep my other content in the back. And I could even make that a little bit bigger maybe. But I think it's going to work better to really show that it's a modal by making sure that we can see the content behind it. It makes the user experience just a little bit better because when we click, it's going to fade in, it's going to appear, but I want to make it really obvious that I have to X out. It's not actually a second page or something like that, whereas if we were full screen, it might look like a second page. And a nice way we can darken the background instead of actually having to make a div for it is just use a box shadow. I'm going to do 0, 0. 0. I don't want to blur on it. And now this is 2M the whole way around. So if I just do like a 5M for the whatever it's called there, and yeah, I'll do an RGBA of black and like 0.5. And you can see it just darkens everything that was behind it. And obviously I have another problem right now. Because I use position fixed, it's fixed my box, and my content is overflowing at the bottom, and I have more content than what I actually see on here. So what I'm also going to do here is add in overflow Y of scroll, which gives me its own scroll bar that I can use. Now that does lead to having double scroll bars, which is kind of awkward. So we will eventually turn that off, but that's only going to happen once we get to the JavaScript. But yeah, we could turn this scroll bar off if we want to. And if it doesn't bother you having to, then no one's the wiser. I don't think it's problematic. I don't think it's problematic, but I think it could look nicer if this didn't have a scroll bar on it. Okay, so I think that's pretty well set up. And I didn't really explain this too well. This is the blur, and then, yeah, I always forget what it's called, but it's pretty much like how far out. So if I do this as 1, it's going to make like a 1, but this is how far do I go until I start having a blur. So if I had 1 and then 1, it would go 1 out, and then after 1M, it would start blurring. But in this case, I mean, 5's overkill. If I did 2, it should fill up the whole space anyway, because the size is 2. But, you know, I'm going to go a bit bigger just to make sure there's no weirdness going on. And it just darkens everything up behind it, so I don't have to create some fake, an extra div just to create that darkening effect, and it's easy enough to change. Just by changing this color, I can make it darker or lighter. Okay, so let's keep on going. There's my modal. So let's get our header looking a little bit better. So let's come up to here and do my portfolio header. This is the one awkward point actually, is I want my background image on my portfolio header. So I think the best way to actually do this, so I don't have to create a whole bunch of different classes, portfolio header, and then I could do nth of type, and say my first one has a background image of URL. So that should be back one step image portfolio 01.jpg. So it's starting to come in. Then I can do background size cover and background position center. So that will bring in that one. And then what I could do here is say that my background, that I could just give it sort of my sizing here. So let's just do padding of like 2M. That's not cool. Say 2, or actually, they should have a text align left. Padding of 2M. Let's do like 3M. No, let's go bigger. 4M, 2M. We could probably be bigger than that. 5. Okay, we'll see how this looks. Oh, and I don't want padding here, actually. Let's make this 0. I only want the padding on the top and the bottom. No. Yes. You'll see why in a second. So that's okay. Then I have my portfolio text box, which will have a background of RGBA accent. We'll see what 75 looks like. Or we just won't see it at all. Why not? Oh, not text box, title box. Title box. There we go. Cool. So I think for this now what I could just do is do padding of 3M. I'm just guessing at these numbers. That looks not too bad. My font size is too small. We'll fix that in a second though. The color, can I fix the color? Color is white. Good. So that's not too bad actually. I'm just trying to think. I just don't want this to go all the way. So let's just give it a width of like 70%. Let's go look at the original design again. We're not too far off. And again, I wanted to keep this font here and here. We're not too far off. I think all I'm going to change right now is the, from project name, I am going to make that bigger. Now I use the same class on both. So I guess I could actually have given them different names, but portfolio, I'm just going to nest this title, will be a font size of like 4M. What about its smaller screens? What's going to happen? Responsive, that's you. I have side scrolling. 3.5. I still have side scrolling. Why? I might know why. Padding. Let's just make it 1 for a second. Undo, undo, save. I'll just do padding left then. Padding, no, 3. 3 on the top. 0, 3M. 3M. There we go. So then as it gets bigger, we're good. Awesome, cool. That looks good. I need to add in the white line. So I want the white line there. So that will be on my portfolio title. We'll do an and after. So it won't have anything inside it. It will have a height of 1 pixel. It will have a margin of, we need to move it down, 1M, 0. A background of white, width of 100%. Is there anything else I need? Save. Oh, display block. I usually like keeping that up here. Display block. Good, except what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put the padding back to 3. And on this, I'm going to do box sizing, border box. Because I think that will stop it from doing that weird stuff it was doing. Whoa, now it's worse than it was before. Undo. Save. Okay, we're going to keep it like that then. I was wrong. So we're going to keep it like this. That means the width here should be smaller. Say like 60%. That's good enough. Maybe 70. That's really going to depend on like screen size. I might have to give that a max width or do something. Or what if I change my portfolio title to a display inline block and just made this 100%. So now it would just match the length of my title. That makes sense. The spacing here is a little off though. Let's make that space a bit smaller. I like that better. That looks good. The portfolio subtitle could probably be a bit bigger. So, portfolio subtitle, font size of 1.5 rem. 1 rem? There we go. Good. Good. I'm happy with that. I think that looks pretty nice. It should work well for different screen sizes. Now we can go down into the content here. So we have my portfolio content. So in my portfolio content, again, my text align's off. Text align left. And let's give it a width of like 95%. Margin 0 auto to center it. It's a little bit small, eh? 90, 85. I like having some space on the sides. My margin is also 0 auto, but I should probably have, I guess on here. Yeah, let's come up to my header and say there's a margin bottom of 2em. I'm just using 2. I have 2 here, then I have 2 here, so 2 there. I'm just trying to stay consistent with all my spacing. Oh, that's not 2, that's just 85%. But whatever. It looks pretty consistent, so I'm happy with it. Good. Super duper. That looks pretty nice. Is there anything else that I need to do for my content? I do need to set a max width on this at one point. But let's just go down and look at all the way down. I should probably have some padding on the bottom too, right? Padding bottom 2em. Yeah, that will look a little bit better down on the bottoms. Cool. So that's good. So what I'm going to do now is take a look at this image, because this is the one that I want to be going up to full width. And to do this, let's rearrange this so we can look at some bigger screen sizes while we're at it. And let's get out of my inspect mode and out of here. So I want this image to be able to go full width. So I realized I made a small mistake in the code, so I'm just jumping here to fix this. I just noticed it when I was editing. So I want to, just so you know, when it's later on in the video, you might see a little bit of different code for the portfolio full width here. And it's because I tried to get too fancy because of the overall size of here not being 100% of my screen. But basically, if you have something that's smaller than the container, so you can see here I do have it at the full size, and here I'm going to save, so we can jump back to what the image normally looked like. And what I'm going to do now is on my width, I'm just going to say it's 100 viewport width, and I'm going to save that. The other thing is it didn't actually change now, and that's because I do have a max width on my images of 100%. So I'm going to do max width and just set it to initial. So it means it can actually overflow. So now you can see it's overflowing like that. And now what I want it to do is I actually want to pull it back within this space here that it doesn't really belong, because it's inside a container type of thing. So to do that, the easy thing is just to do a margin. So I'm going to 0 top and bottom, and then I'm going to use calc on the left and right. So what I'm going to do for my calc is 50% minus 50 viewport width. So it's going to, let's save that. Actually, let's just do the 50% first, and you'll see what that's going to do. So 50%, it's moving it 50% across the screen. And then we're doing minus 50 viewport width. So it's going to push the image to the 50% point of the image. So we're lining up the side right in the middle of the screen. And then we're going to pull it all the way back 50 viewport width. So that's going to line it up right to the edge of the screen where I originally want it. Now the only problem is this is giving me some side scrolling. The original problem that I had when I did this is I tried getting too fancy because this box is smaller than 100 viewport width. So my image is actually going to be bigger than I need it to be, but only slightly. So all I'm going to do to fix that is let's just come all the way up to my, where is it? My portfolio modal. I went too far. Portfolio modal, we already have an overflow Y of scroll. I'm just going to add an overflow X of hidden. So anything overflowing out the sides is hidden. Now the only problem we have left is that this is way too tall, obviously. So we can go and fix that up here on my portfolio width, or after my margin on my full width, we can add in a height. So I'm going to add a height of 20 VH, so it's going to adapt to the screen. Now obviously this doesn't look so good. We don't want to smush our image, but we can use the awesome object fit cover. Object fit has really good browser support. The only thing it doesn't work in is Internet Explorer, sadly, and that includes 11, but across everything else it does work. Here on my margin, let's just make that so we have some space on the top and bottom of my image. And there we go. It's a nice way to break an image out of a container. So if you have a width set on something, it's a nice way you can expand outside of that width. Okay, I was gonna have my pull left and my pull right. So for these, they're gonna go in media query at media min width of say like 40 rem, 40M, and my portfolio pull right. I think I did my left one first. Pull left will have a width of, how big did I make it in my design? Is it about 50%? A little bit bigger than 50%. We'll go with like 65%, width of 65%. And it's a pull left, so it will be float left. Awesome, exactly what I was after. And then a margin, margin left of 2M, stay consistent, except that should be on the right. Awesome, that looks nice. So we get to there, and then I have the exact same thing. Whoops, not cut, we want to copy. Paste, and this will be a pull right, except this one will be a float right, and a margin left. Cool, good. Now if I had more text, it would work, but it works. And then if I get down to a small enough screen size, I'll have to check, where's it gonna work at? I should have it fix that at the same point where my font sizes change. Except I had a mixin for this, so I should be using my mixin instead. At include media query. And that should make it all change at the same sizes. There we go. When my font sizes change, it also will change, and it works out pretty well. Good. I'm just going to add a very small margin on the bottom. It's okay. I think it's okay. Cool. Good. I'm happy with how that looks. Actually, oh yeah, that should stay full width all the time. Good, good, good. Cool. So I'm happy with how the modal looks. Oh, I forgot one thing. I forgot my close button. So let's throw the close button in there really fast. We're going to steal the same close button we used already. So let's go and get that. That's on my index all the way. Here we go. Close icon. So let's just steal that, copy that, and move down into my portfolio stuff here. And I'm going to put that right with my modal. Yeah, so right here. Fix the spacing on this a little bit. And save that. This can come back a little. Save that. So we should have, oh, I just put the SVG. We should have that inside a button. And I'm putting it in a button because it is a JavaScript thing. Save, so that we should, it's there, but it's not working, obviously. Why not? I also don't want this to be close icon, I think. This one's going to be we'll just call it modal close. There we go. So we can actually see it. And we can style all that. I'm going to bring this up higher because I'm just going in the order that it is in my markup. So let's make that look a little nicer because it looks kind of weird right now. So let's do my modal close. Background transparent. Did I call it close? Portfolio modal close. Modal close. Why does that not want to work, guys? Oh. Did I do something silly there? No, I'm okay. Modal close. Oh, I can do this. I want that on my button itself. Class equals modal close. Not on the SVG. Save. There we go. It's gone to transparent. Good. And then left position absolute. Left 2M, top 2M, something like that. That's not horrible. Border 0, border 0. Except now when I scroll, it disappears, which is kind of awkward. This is how my original design had it, but I don't like it. Because when I scroll, it disappears. So that means I have to scroll back up to turn it off, and that's just awkward, right? Yeah, it is just awkward. So instead of that, maybe what we could do is position fixed. Background white. Okay, that's getting better. 1 and 1, so it's hanging off the side. That might look a little better. Let's give it a width here too, right? Width. Let's give it a width and a height. Just so it's a square. Make it a circle. Border radius, because I think it'll look nicer. 50%. And now it's just not positioned properly at all because of the way my SVG is. First, let's give it a box shadow. Box shadow 0, 0, I don't know, 5 pixels, RGBA, black. And if you're not using Sass, you can't just write black for RGBA. That's a Sass thing. How can I bring that to be more centered? Because I don't want to mess with my SVG code because I'm terrible with SVG. Can I just give it some padding? Let's move it down first. 2 pixels 0. Oh, because I had some padding on the side. Look at that. I just need to be a bit bigger than that. I'm using pixels. That's okay. 5. Oh, 0, 0. 4. It's a magic number, but it works. There we go. And last but not least, cursor is pointer. There we go. Awesome. Should I give it a hover? I don't think it needs a hover. I think that's pretty obvious. And at least now it comes with us. So it's a modal. When I click that, it will close. And when I'm not clicked on it, it will open. And that's it for the CSS. Awesome. I think that looks awesome. I hope you like what that looks like. And join me in the next video where we're going to look at the JavaScript.